Hello and welcome in to another edition of the Williamson Herald High School Football Weekly Report. Josh Vardaman joined as always by the multi-talented multimedia reporter Charles Polium from the Williamson Herald. Charles, it's really cold out here, but we're going to brave through it and so we can get to Friday night's matchups. We got a lot on the line as Division I hits the quarterfinals, Division II the semifinals this week in high school football. It's getting down to the nitty-gritty.
Oh, definitely. And that's it's just kind of that fun time of year, and we have some of the best matchups we've had in a long time here. You got your unbeaten semis there, CPA, Lausanne, Brentwood, Ravenwood, a rematch of the Battle of the Woods. My goodness, this is just going to be a busy, fun week for sure.
We want to thank Garth Bolden and his whole team here at Gateway Tire and Auto in Franklin, just on the corner here of Cool Springs Boulevard and McEwen Drive, for welcoming us here today to talk about these games, although they didn't make it warm for us. That's okay.
Well, that one for you. I feel like I got some good stuff on from this one, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Garth, for both letting us be here and that cool sweatshirt that Charles is wearing. We're going to welcome Garth on in a little bit to talk about our Battle of the Woods matchup, but before we get to the games, let's start out with our Mr. Football finalists here in the area. We have a few of them that we cover, and I know that you want to talk a little bit more about these stellar student athletes.
That's right. The Mr. Football Awards will be on Sunday, November 25th. We have three finalists. T.J. Sheffield of Independence in Class 6A, the 5'10", 171-pound senior and Purdue commit, finished the season with just over 2,000 all-purpose yards, 21 touchdowns, and 1,550 receiving yards. He also had 17 tackles and 4 pass deflections. He's going against Xavier Myers of Oakland and Devon Starling of Cane Ridge. In Class 3A, Cam Harris-Lusk of Fairview, the 5'10", 165-pound athlete. He's got no official offers, which is something that we'll always talk about here until we get some there. But this is the second Mr. Football finalist in a row for Coach Hughes, which speaks volumes of Hughes' program there at Fairview. Darius James was a finalist last year. But Harris-Lusk has nearly 1,700 yards all-purpose. He's got 31 touchdowns on the year to go with 35 tackles and 5 interceptions. Walker Russell of Alcoa and Xavier Shepard of Pearl Cone are the other finalists. In Division II AA, Noah Henderson of CPA, a 6'1", 195-pound senior. He's got offers from Army and Navy and is currently uncommitted, but just took a visit there at Stratford as well. 65 catches for 1,118 yards, 10 touchdowns. He's got 520 return yards as well, including a 99-yard touchdown versus Independence. That was a beauty there. Henderson, of course, in the battle this week against Lausanne, he's going against Cameron Wynn of Notre Dame and Eric Gray of Lausanne. So you'll see two Mr. Football finalists in that semifinal matchup at CPA.
Many congratulations to those student athletes, of course, for being named finalists for Mr. Football, and those winners will be announced here in the coming weeks as we get down to the state finals in Cookeville. And now we're going to step back inside and get a little warmer with Garth Bolden for our first matchup, the Battle of the Woods. We're going to start this week's action with a Region 6A rematch of Week 5. Brentwood will host Ravenwood in the Battle of the Woods. Garth Bolden here with us from Gateway Tire and Auto. Garth, I know that you've been watching a lot of these games all season long. What do you like about this matchup between Brentwood and Ravenwood?
Well, first I like Ravenwood's ability to mix things up on defense. I think that's going to be a big challenge for Brentwood. Certainly it is a rematch. Ravenwood's going to be playing with a chip on their shoulder, I believe, after losing the first Battle of the Woods to Brentwood after beating Cane Ridge. That was a huge step leading to the semifinals and on. So I like Ravenwood in this matchup. I really do.
Yeah. Charles, dive into that one a little bit more. As Garth just said, Ravenwood beating Cane Ridge last week 43-36. Brentwood with a good overtime win, 27-24 over Independence. This game, I really like this matchup.
Oh, definitely, too. And it's Brian Garcia coming off a really good showing there. He found Andrew Mason on an 11-yard touchdown there with 5 seconds to play to topple previously unbeaten fourth-ranked Cane Ridge. 6A runners-up last year. Just a big momentum game there for Ravenwood. Garcia finishes with 5 touchdowns and about 270 yards there passing. Great performance there from Ravenwood. William Bain, a fantastic fourth quarter run there. He actually had a 92-yard screen pass, took it to the house, and that kind of ignited them even more there. They trailed 22-7 in this game. So things didn't look good for Ravenwood, but I think this one is all about that momentum. And now you're up because you've already played a Brentwood team, and you fell in a tight game. You actually led in that one. It was 14-0 in the first half. And now I think they got that more of a motivation factor, you know. And for Brentwood, it's going to be more playing, avoiding that playing not to lose mentality. But I think that's going to kind of be hard to overcome. But it's just, first off, I've got to say, too, I'm just happy to be inside now. We're at Gateway Tire. Happy to have Garth on board with us here and being in his spot. So just happy to be here. But I think this is going to be a really fun game.
Yeah, hopefully the weather is a little bit nicer on Friday than it is outside right now. I like the quarterbacks in this game. Brentwood's Cade Granzow in that first matchup threw for 215 yards, rushed for another 56 to lead the team, had 3 touchdowns. Brian Garcia, as Charles mentioned, threw for 361 yards in that first matchup. So the quarterback play in this game could be really high octane. Of course, you two both make your picks every week for the Williamson Herald also. You already gave yours, kind of. I think you like Ravenwood in this matchup.
I like Ravenwood, and I want to go back 2 weeks ago against the matchup against Indy, and I brought up the defense of Ravenwood. You know, against Indy in that game, Ravenwood's defense played lights out. That was the best performance defensively all year, and then to step it up the next week against Cane Ridge, even though Cane Ridge scored a lot of points, that's a high-octane offense at Cane Ridge. I'm going to have to go with Ravenwood. I love Brentwood, Coach Crawford, but I just think the momentum and the chip on the shoulder, as I mentioned earlier, leans towards Ravenwood. So I'm going to go with Ravenwood.
Charles, what do you think?
Well, he kind of summed it up there really well when you think about how Ravenwood was coming out of that regular season finale. The defensive performance in that. It was 37-0 at one point at Independence, and there was region title stuff on the line there for both teams involved in that one. So there was a lot of, I mean, both teams are supposed to come in that one very amped up. Ravenwood obviously just jumped on Independence in a really great performance there. I think, like Garth, I got to side with him in this one as well. There's just something about Ravenwood right now. The chip on their shoulder, like he said as well, too. This is just, it's one of those games. And for Brentwood, I feel like they've accomplished a lot. You know, when they won the region title against Centennial, that was a big moment. But coming off the heels of a big moment there in the community where they're trying to overcome a tragedy, I think that was a big stepping stone. And obviously they added to that. They beat Independence in a revenge game already. There's a lot there that Brentwood has accomplished. And obviously we're in the quarterfinals. This is a big time because we're playing to be in the semis. But I think Ravenwood just has a little bit of an edge there. So it's going to be a fun one regardless.
And we want to thank Garth Bolden for joining us for that game. And Charles, we're going to go back outside for the remainder. Are you ready for the cold?
Gateway Tire and Service Center opened in Franklin in 1992 and is your source for timely, professional automotive services. When your check engine light turns on or you hear your brakes squealing, drive to Gateway Tire to receive precise, expert auto repair services from their qualified mechanics. Gateway Tire in Franklin is located at 1021 West McEwen Drive.
Charles and I's warm run is over. We're back out here in the cold outside here at Gateway Tire and Auto. Many thanks again to Garth Bolden for joining us for that recap of the Battle of the Woods. Charles, now we're going to move over to Division II in the AA classification. Lausanne is going to travel to CPA, a battle of unbeaten teams, maybe the best two teams in Division II AA. CPA 12-0, Lausanne 11-0. Just a stellar matchup, I think.
And for Lausanne, I think, 35, 36 games in a row they've won. These are the defending champs here. CPA fell in this game to Notre Dame last year in the semifinals. This has been a collision course for some time. As soon as we saw the brackets released, we saw this as a circled matchup, semifinal matchup, your unbeaten teams battling it out with some of the top D1 athletes we have in the area for sure. Eric Gray for Lausanne is what Ingle Martin called, he's the top running back to come out of state. And he could be the top. That's the thing. He's rushed for more than 8,000 yards in his career, more than 2,600 on the ground right now, 35 touchdowns this season. Just a crazy good athlete, committed to Michigan. It's going to be neat to see him, how he lines up, how he challenges this CPA team. And that's what Ingle Martin talked about when I chatted with him, was the challenge of this game. This is a full team challenge. Obviously, we're going to be watching Bryce McCormick, Kane Patterson, guys like that, to see how they try to slow grade down. But at the same time, you got to be watching Ryan Elledge and Noah Henderson offensively, what they're going to do to try to ignite this CPA offense that's averaging more than 42 points as well. This is a just big-time premier matchup, and so many people around the state and really people following these young players from around the nation are going to be looking a little bit into this game. This is really one of the big ones for sure in the state.
Yeah, if you're a football fan or a high school football fan, you need to keep your eyes on this matchup. Like Charles said, with Eric Gray, who's having a down year after rushing for over 3,000 yards last year and over 40 touchdowns. But Kane Patterson will have something for him, the Clemson committed linebacker for CPA. And, of course, we didn't even mention Noah Henderson, who is the Mr. Football finalist for the Lions. So that's a very, very big game there.
That's two Mr. Football finalists going head-to-head right there, and you get to see one on the wideout and one being the running back. It's just CPA is, and, you know, that's the beauty of this one, too, is CPA is hosting this one. We're going to have this right in our backyard. If there's a game to go to and you're kicked out of the Brentwood-Ravenwood game because it's too full, you can do the CPA Lausanne one, but hey, there's another one there too.
Yeah, just head right down the road there on Old Hickory Boulevard, and you'll find CPA, where Lausanne is going to travel in there. One of these teams is going to have one loss on the season, and it's going to send them home. Also in Division II AA, we're going to move over to Franklin, where BGA will host an FRA team coming off a huge 34-33 upset win over Notre Dame, who might have been the third best team in Division II AA, but the Panthers said, not so fast. I think we have something for you. Coming up with a huge win there. They were trailing by as many as 24 points in the first half of that game. Came all the way back to stun the Irish. But BGA, the Wildcats, just rolling along 10-2. I think they've won 5 games in a row, and they've given up 31 total points in that stretch also. This will be another big matchup.
Well, like I said, yeah, we talked about you could be at the CPA Lausanne, you could be at the Battle of the Woods. Well, if you want to, you could be at BGA as well. Yep. For me, like, trying to pick one of these games to be centered at for the entire night is going to be a big challenge, and I think it's going to be a challenge for a lot of our high school football fans. This is a big rivalry matchup. This guarantees that we have someone playing for a championship as well in Cookeville, because we have FRA, CPA, and BGA all from the same Division II AA middle region. 3 of the 4 semifinalists in that division are right here from the region. That's just impressive to see. But this is a big rivalry one. We went back October 11th. BGA had one of their coming out games when it came to this defensive run that they're on currently. 14-3 win at FRA on the Hill. Just a great performance there. We talked about that. We've talked about that for several weeks now, and how good BGA looked in that game, and just what a big proving point that was. You go back to FRA, though, this is a surging team. You mentioned they were down by 24. That was 30-6 in the first half. How do you come back from that one? Well, you get some big plays. One of those biggest plays came in the fourth quarter, a 98-yard touchdown strike, Sean Casey to Riley Speed. They call him Speed, I think, for a reason. But just a beautiful play there. Brogan Wilson tacks on the touchdown and the PAT for the go-ahead there in the final 2 minutes. Great performance from FRA, but you can't count out BGA. They went on the road to Knoxville Webb, one of their rivals, beat that school for the first time in their series. This is a team that they duked it out for the title a few years ago as well, and BGA's never been able to get over the hump against Knoxville Webb, knock them down 30-10. I'm really looking forward to this one as well. This is going to be a great game. Yeah, lots of offensive firepower in this game. Of course, the Oregon commit Lance Wilhoit for FRA. Nick Sumpton-Felter, you have to throw his name in on everything that we do here for BGA at quarterback. So lots of offensive firepower in this game, and there's a lot of defensive firepower in this game also. Yeah, and that's one of our Mr. Football semifinalists, Timon Mitchell, actually for FRA. You got Chico Bennett on the other side. This names all across the board in this one as well. Like I said, Sumpton-Felter has had a fantastic season so far. He's thrown for more than 2,600 yards, 31 touchdowns on the year. He leads this BGA offense, and you know, if BGA plays that turnover-free defensive performance that they did on the Hill a few weeks ago, it's going to be hard for FRA. Yeah. Another exciting matchup. Let's switch back over to Division I. Fairview is going to host maybe the most surprising team in the Tennessee State playoffs that's made it to this point so far. Stratford, a 4-8 team, just had 2 wins in the regular season, upsetting maybe a lot of people's title
favorites in Pearl Cone last week. Stratford 32-27. They lost to Pearl Cone in the regular season 55-0. But talk about a rematch win and a little bit of redemption there.
God, you gotta love the way that worked out, because this is a team coming off. Everyone had penciled them out, just like, why? What's the even point of playing this one? 55-0, and this wasn't just in the regular season. It was just a few weeks back. Just a crazy loss there, but somehow the Stratford team is having a little bit of playoff magic, and that actually has Coach Chris Hughes a little worried, because his boys were up and ready to play Pearl. They wanted this rematch, and everyone had kind of penciled that one in, so it was going to be Fairview Pearl. No, it's Stratford instead. So he was just kind of wondering, it's like, well, you know, he's got to get his guys remotivated in a sense, because you don't want to have a letdown, especially against a team surging like this. Stratford beat Camden on the road 29-22. They go to Pearl, beat them on the road 32-27. Now they go on the road to Fairview. And for Fairview, this is a fun matchup, because this is the first time they've ever hosted a quarterfinal, and they've never gotten past the quarterfinal round. So history trying to be made for the Yellow Jackets. Obviously, we've talked about Cam Harris-Lusk. We've talked about all the great guys for this. Logan Nardozzi expected to be back. We saw some good things from Brody Cox, just the fullback coming in there, getting about 60 hard yards in that win last week for Fairview. I think the Yellow Jackets are poised to make some history here, but they have to stay focused against a surging Stratford team. Yeah,
as you mentioned, last week in the 33-22 win over East Nashville, Logan Nardozzi, the sophomore running back for Fairview, did not play in that game because of an injury, but as Charles just said, he's expected to be back. Thank you for the insight there, Charles. Now you want to move over to our last game of the week? Let's do it so we can get out of the cold. Maybe a game that's kind of going under the radar maybe for us, but it shouldn't for everyone out there, because this might be the two best teams, regardless of classification, in the entire state. Brentwood Academy, the three-time defending state champion, is going to travel to MBA, who they've beaten in the last three state championships. Usually we're used to these two teams meeting in Cookeville. This week they'll meet in the semifinals of Division II AAA. Charles, just another big matchup between these two teams.
NBA actually beaten BA in the regular season here. Again, like, we've had some of the best high school games in recent history for championships between these two, and it's just some big-time matchups here. Big-time matchup for BA, coming off a Christian Brothers win on the road last week in the quarterfinals. This will just be interesting to see how Tamario Pleasant, guys like that, continue to play here. Tamario rushed for more than 100 yards and a touchdown in that 21-14 win at Christian Brothers. All TDs on the ground there. Wade Williams, Jordan James, they both rushed as well. And now they have a chance to avenge that regular season loss. Brentwood Academy came into the season, they had, what, a 24-game win streak, lost to McCauley, go on the road, they lose to NBA as well. So another trip to West End, but let's see how BA does in this one. I think they're going to be a little more motivated, because they know they can play for a championship if they get by.
Yeah, the first game against these two teams in the regular season, of course, like Charles said, was an NBA win. It was an overtime win, one that the Eagles scored on the first possession. In the second possession, the Big Red scored a touchdown and went for a two-point conversion and won. So you know the Eagles want to have a little bit of a revenge factor going into that game to try and overtake the Big Red and make it back to their fourth state championship. Try and do something that's only been done, I think, one other time in Tennessee State high school football history.
Well, and that's reminiscent of when BA did it in the championship game in the triple overtime thriller, 56-55 several years back with Jeremiah Oatsfall, guys like that we're watching at Austin P now.
So we have a lot of exciting football as we hit the quarterfinals in Division I and the semifinals in Division II. Anywhere you want to go around Williamson County, it seems like on Friday night there will be a big game brewing, so don't let the cold chase you away if it's going to be like it is today, because there's plenty of football action to heat you up.
Well, and the other thing is, too, there is chance to go inside if you want as well. We have some Thursday basketball games, high school basketball officially in. I want to mention, too, high school wrestling also big going now, too. So all the coverage you're going to find on the Williamson Herald website. I'll be bouncing around. I know we got all our helpers out there, too. Watch for our photo galleries, watch for our stories, and, of course, our videos.
Yep. Charles, thank you again for joining us. We're going to go inside and try and warm up our hands and feet, and we want to throw out a big shout-out to Garth Bolden and the folks here at Gateway Tire and Auto for welcoming us here again today as well. So you've joined us for the Williamson Herald High School Football Weekly Report, and we'll see you next week.